One of them just sent. That scared the fuck out of me.
I was like, what the heck?
I was like, it's the rapture, Jesus.
Let us get famous first, guys.
Like, I'm too young.
Okay. Welcome, everybody, to Flatlands Podcast. We are back again with Josh.
It's good to be back.
Yeah, good.
How are you doing, Josh?
I'm doing swell.
It's
Doing
good,
very
dude.
swell.
I'm glad.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm sitting here.
Well, that's good.
That's all.
How are
that
you doing,
matters.
Steven?
Not bad. A little terrified on how we're going to continue this glorious wedding series we've got right now, since episode 1 has already been taken care of and up, and now here we are starting to get Josh's reactions of the fuckery to be had.
So now, just to recap, we did not know, and also so we can catch you up too. We were asked to go to this wedding.
We were
right?
asked to be.
I was asked to be best man
and groomsman, numero uno out of 2.
And at the end of the last wedding episode, we had just arrived at our hotel,
Right.
and
Yes.
we were doing good.
And yeah, still knowing little to nothing about anything.
Mm-hmm.
And we had been trying to get this figured out for the entire year previous, not even knowing for sure if we were able to make it.
Try for the year.
No,
previous.
we really didn't. But we also
We
weren't
tried for like the month before,
when the invitation showed up.
and then we lived in the same complex at the time.
I still have that file, most of that file. I threw out most part of it.
I don't even have anything
Yeah,
except for
we made
the
an
suit.
entire file of, okay, this is the church, this is where it's at, this is the map, this is the neighborhood around it, so we know where we're going. This is the bride, this is the groom, this is the pastor, this is the co-pastor.
This is the picture of the inside of the church. This
Yeah,
is the picture
we
of the
had
outside of the church.
Everything we possibly could figured out. We fully military operations this entire wedding out in a month.
Just so that way we know what the fuck we were doing.
You're well informed.
Mm-hmm.
Had to be. We didn't want to be there.
we
We
weren't
wanted the
really-
fast escape.
Yeah, we weren't really well informed though, to be honest with you.
No,
we, were,
yeah.
we were informed to a degree.
Because see, we showed up at the hotel at like
3, 4,
2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
The rehearsal was the following day at 6. The wedding was at 4. The rehearsal was at 6.
Okay. We thought the rehearsal was going to be
Yeah,
at
we thought
4.
the rehearsal was.
No, at one time we thought it was going to be at 2.
Yeah, we thought it was at 4, 2, 4, and then found out it was at 6, like right before we got there.
Right.
Yeah, like
Fucked up shit.
we
right
wake
there.
up like, dude, I think it's at this time. We texted, no, it's at 6.
So
Fucking gym.
we decided to go to the mall, go out to eat, kill
Got
some
my
time.
jacket. I like
We
that
had-
jacket.
I
still
like
have
mine
that
too.
jacket.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I've actually bought another one since then.
Oh, that's
I
good.
bought one more like yours,
Oh, yeah.
a little thicker
Except
one.
except for that one thing on my
Yeah,
sleeve
mine
that
didn't
fell off.
come with that,
No.
but I bought it here though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can
Better
actually,
quality.
yeah, you can still actually buy that tap out stuff here.
Oh, okay.
So if you want more,
Hmm.
same store,
No, yeah. I don't even remember.
Aeropostale.
Oh, okay. I tried to forget everything about that time we were there.
Only reason why I remember that is because I found the second jacket there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but yeah, so
So, real quick. So, Josh, what would you think? Okay, so you recently went to a wedding not too long ago. Now, what did you do in that wedding?
Recently,
Yeah,
I was an invited guest.
just a guest. Okay.
Yeah.
lucky.
So, right, the last time that you actually were in a wedding, what was that? Was that when your sister was married?
Yes.
Okay. So, what do you usually expect, like rehearsal wise, for a wedding? Because even your sister, I was in the wedding for your sister. I was a sound guy, but
Right.
I was the wedding.
You were the
I
wedding.
was the wedding.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you were the sound
You're-
man, the church, the audience, the
Everyone was-
bride, the groom.
Everyone walked
You were
all over
everything.
me, man.
Wow.
I
There
know.
was no wedding if you weren't there.
No.
I really
My
wish I
happy-
would have been
My
invited to
happy
this
trail
wedding now.
was the center aisle.
So we had a wedding for Ed.
The wedding, and my dick was the steeple.
Does that mean the ball sack is the actual church building? That's one ball is the foyer,
Or
one
that's
ball
the
down
parking
the toilet.
lot. That's the parking lot. The 2 parking lots. And then-
You just take a glass bowl over your stomach, and that's the church building.
Golly.
oh
man.
god.
We ventured off.
Yeah.
But we're still somewhat on topic,
Yes,
surprisingly.
because we were
still-
talking about a church.
In a wedding.
The last time you were here too, Josh, we talked about porn a lot
Yeah.
too.
Well,
so,
not the
I mean,
last time. One of the
Well,
previous.
yeah, a couple episodes ago, but
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
And now we're talking about dicks again.
Yeah.
Oh, Josh, you
Central
are.
topic of this
I was going to
podcast.
say,
But
you're
anyways, back to the question of what do you normally expect and what happened at like the rehearsal and then
Right.
the actual ceremony and then
So the moment
reception.
I show up to the rehearsal, I would expect that the bride and groom would know exactly what I'd be doing.
right, exactly,
Yeah.
right. And usually it's already, for the most part, pretty much planned, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah,
even
yeah.
when I was in that, it was like, all right, cool. At this time, you're going to play this song.
Yeah.
This time, this is when so-and-so is going to walk down the aisle.
Right.
Make sure this goes on.
Now, like when you're at a rehearsal, they're going to make adjustments because they're actually going through with it.
Right, yeah, they're
And,
doing the dry
but
run.
a general idea of what's exactly supposed to happen.
Right.
It's like common sense.
Yeah, and you already know where everyone's going to stand pretty much right from the beginning.
Right.
Before anyone walks up there, they're already like, okay, this is how this is going to look. Then this is going to happen. They do a walkthrough, like they talk what's going to happen.
Mhm.
And then they do a walkthrough of it.
Right.
Once or twice, maybe 3 times. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's normally laid back and casual, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. So
Unless
But-
it's like that other wedding that I missed out, but you went to, Jonathan.
But I mean, even there, I wasn't at the rehearsal. I was
You didn't go to rehearsal?
No, because I didn't have to. Fuck, I
Right,
wasn't
right.
going. But
Right.
kind of like we wish we didn't have to go to this one.
yeah. No, I actually was at the rehearsal. No, was I? No,
Yeah.
I wasn't. No, I
No,
wasn't.
no, because you said if you were there and you heard how they were talking about,
Our grandfather.
yeah,
Yeah.
then you would have got up and said something.
Yeah, I would have been cussing at it
Yeah.
inside a church. Yeah.
Yeah.
That could be a whole nother fucking story on
that
that.
could be another one.
Well, let's wait because there may be a time coming soon. I may end up doing the same thing you almost did.
Yeah. So, but even then, though,
Right.
there was order to it. They
Right.
knew what they were doing. It lasted for I think about like 30 some odd minutes.
Right.
Your sister's wedding. How long was that?
I want to say probably about 30, 45 minutes.
Okay.
Somewhere in there.
And how long was the rehearsal? Do you remember? Because we ran through it. Because I remember pressing the button a good number of times to play the
Yeah.
songs.
I mean, I think we just went through mainly the walk, down.
And we went through that
Down
like
to
once
the
or twice.
Went through a couple times just to get the timing right for the music.
Right, yeah.
Because they wanted the bride to walk down during the chorus.
Yeah.
So all the groomsmen and the bridesmaids were trying to get our timing right.
And spacing and
Yeah. So that way, when it came time for the bride, it would be right when the
yeah,
chorus.
and then we talked through because your dad was the one who officiated it.
Right.
And we were talking through how how it was gonna go, what he was gonna say in these parts, and he kind of roughly went over his
Right.
spiel, and they went over their vows.
Yeah.
And then we did it another time, to
Yeah,
make
yeah,
sure
just-
everyone stood in the right spot.
And then that was it.
Yeah. So that's typically and for you, Steven,
And
have
that's
you been
basically
involved?
Yeah, that's basically how it's been for every wedding I've been in. Is
Yeah.
everything's pretty much pre-planned out. It normally takes 30 to 45 minutes to do the entire ceremony itself. And
Even the rehearsals. Have you ever been?
yeah, I've been in 2 of them in the rehearsals, and it maybe takes an hour tops to run through it a few times.
Sometimes maybe a little longer if there's other
And it depends on how big
intricacies
and it depends on how big it is and how you're trying to get the little kids to be like, hey, this is what you need to do.
Right.
So and then trying to figure out where they're going to go, how you're going to maintain them to keep them quiet and
Yeah.
stuff.
And that's usually that's to be expected.
Right.
That's typically how it works. Now take all that and throw it out the fucking window.
Yeah, that window behind you, just chunk it.
Yeah, that was literally the rehearsal that we were at.
Wow.
Like there
Yeah.
was no pre-plan, there
Like-
was no thought.
Yeah. We
at all.
show up to the church just about almost right before everybody else did. The only person was there was Jim's father. He made homemade barbecue, and he showed up early to drop it off.
And then I think his, like a cousin of his or two
Yeah,
were
the
there 'cause
cousin
they were
or- yeah.
helping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got there, and we started to meet some of the people involved on both Jim's side and the bride's side.
Yeah.
And so we didn't meet the father. No, yeah, we did meet the father. He was there. Her father was there because that's when they told him that he had the opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
Right before he
Yeah.
gave her away to have like a
Yeah.
little dad, soon to be husband speech.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Heart to heart type
Yeah.
of shit.
but the pastor apparently works at a hotel as a day job
Mhm.
and literally got off work and showed up there. And he's like a maintenance guy. He's still wearing his jeans and the hotel shirt that he works in.
Right.
And for the size of the church, I'm not going to hold it. Like that's
No,
not a thing
it's-
I'd hold
yeah,
against
it's
them.
Maybe I think what is it? Jim told us in the past. Maybe on a good Sunday, 70 people might show up
Yeah.
on a good week.
Kind of like our grandfather's church. You know, he really doesn't receive a paycheck from that. He does, but not a lot.
Right.
Not enough to where he could, if he wanted to, live off of that, you know?
Right.
And that's kind of how this church is. It's really small.
It's and it's a bunch of older people and stuff. So
yeah.
But
so like for that, I'm not going to hold that against him on that.
Right.
But just for context, so you understand.
Yeah. So I mean, it's definitely not a big church. And this church, typically, obviously, the church layout, you walk in the main entrance, you walk into the auditorium, you got the one center aisle, and typically, and even in smaller churches, there's the small ones that go down the side of the wall. Not this one.
Right.
You walk in the front door and into the auditorium, and there's nothing but pews in front of you. There's an aisle to the left and the right, and then there's the ones on the wall.
Right.
There was no center aisle.
No center aisle.
And
no
the lobby, I wouldn't even
about as big as this room.
No, probably smaller than this room.
Probably a little bit smaller. Probably more like that room.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, the vocal booth.
It's not
because literally with the bride, the groom, the three of us, and the three on her side, and the ring bearer and both flower girls, and the person who opened the door when it was time for us to start heading out.
All crammed in that.
All
we
crammed in one.
we were like sardines.
Yeah.
Because you got to think it was technically their lobby, so there was a table there.
Right.
Yeah, there was a table there. Yeah.
You know, a thing where their tracks are on and shit like that, right? It was small, to say the least.
Yeah. So
with those tables, and then they weren't small tables either.
Right.
So I mean, that really made it even more cramped.
yeah, and they already had like
There was tables on both sides, wasn't it?
No, there was a table on the left, and they had already put the stand in for the guest registry.
Oh yeah.
For when you sign in, for when you show up to the wedding.
And they had it in the awkward
guest
position.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they already had. Yeah, everything was already in there. But we got in the church. We started because they were still decorating the fellowship hall, I guess they called it. I don't know what it was, but they had all the tables and stuff in there, and they were decorating it. And this is when we found out officially the colors of the wedding are yellow and light blue.
Mm-hmm.
We were told black suit,
Mm-hmm.
black tie with blue stripes.
And
we had a black tie with blue stripes, but we were supposed to get a blue stripe tie and a white shirt, and so that's what me and him wore. But we'll get back to that later.
That's actually in the wedding.
Yeah, that's actually part of the actual wedding.
Yeah, we
the next
find something
day.
out too.
But that's when we figured out the initial colors. We finally get everybody who shows up, and we go to the actual auditorium, and we start to figure out where everybody's going to stand. So obviously, the pastor gets up there and says, "All right, the bride's going to be here to my right. Jim, you're going to stand right here on my left. The guys are going to stand here. The girls are going to stand there."
Like typical how it is. The guys are with
Yeah.
the guy, the groom, and the bridesmaids are with the bride.
Right.
But the problem already starts here, because if we get all there, well, there's Jonathan as the best man, me as groomsman number 1, and then there's groomsman number 2.
Right.
Well, on her side, there's the matron of honor and 3 bridesmaids, not 2.
Which
So
got
she's
whittled down to 2.
Yeah, she had 1 extra bridesmaid than he had groomsmen.
Yeah.
And that's why there was 2 flower girls.
Yeah, because they took the youngest of the 3 and said, "You are now going to have to be a flower girl with this other girl."
Mm-hmm.
For symmetry.
But yeah, so that's where the problem starts. Is he was 1 person short, or she'd invited 1 extra person too many. And then, for some god-awful reason, they start asking her questions of, do you want to come down this aisle, or do you want to come down this aisle? And how do we want everybody else to come in? Do we want to pair down this side, or this side?
Before we get to that, though.
Yeah.
You got to remember, before that happened, we did the little dance.
Yes, we
back
did
and
do the
forth.
little dance. Yes, that is right.
Where the pastor was telling us, groomsmen, you guys go over to that
Yeah.
side.
Swapped us, not the bride and groom. So it's still the bride here, groom here, but all of her people were on this side with him, and we were all on that side with her.
So we swapped sides. So now we were basically on from the audience on the left side. So we were basically stage left, where we started stage right.
And then they finally go, wait, hold up, something doesn't look right, and swapped the bride and groom, which is still weird. I've never been to a wedding where the bride is on the right.
Right.
Well, they did that because at first they wanted her left hand to be towards the audience.
Yes.
But then they were like, wait, no, traditionally it's like this. And then you and I were the ones who suggested, shouldn't we be standing next to the groom?
Yeah, because they moved them back and left us.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And then we did the first walkthrough backwards where we were crisscross.
Not just the first walkthrough, the only walkthrough.
Yeah, we only
Backwards.
did 1 walkthrough. But this is where what I was saying comes into play. They said, do you want them to come down paired down this side, paired down this side, or do you want the women, since we were still opposites, do you want the ladies to come down this side and the men to come down this side? And every question was asked, she was like, yes. Yes.
What the-
Yes.
Now, do you want them to walk together? Or do you want them to walk
Yes.
both with each other?
Yes.
This is your wedding. You can say no if you don't want to. Do you want which side do you want to go down?
Yes.
Okay, so we're walking down this side.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
pretty much
exactly the conversation between her and the
And
pastor.
and the pastor was like, okay, he decided we're just gonna walk down this side.
Yeah, he said, all right, we'll just have everybody come down this side.
It was a left aisle from the stage, right aisle from audience perspective.
My question is, what woman doesn't know how she wants her wedding?
This one.
Okay.
This
And
way.
two, I think you and I touched on it in the last episode. I don't remember if we did. When we were talking to Jim about what was the attire, because we were like, do we need to go to Men's Warehouse and rent something, or even if it wasn't, but what are you wearing? So that way there's some symmetry between all of us.
And granted, his response was always, oh,
I don't know. But he also too, I was like, okay, what does your wife or your future wife, your fiance want? I don't know. We're planning our own thing.
like literally she planned her side, he planned his side. And the only thing they talked about was if it involved both of them.
Yep. And when we got there, we found out she really didn't do that much planning.
She did do better than him,
Yeah, that.
but
to
by
a
only
point,
like
yeah.
2%.
And I mean, and the thing is, we understand they don't have money, so we're not knocking them on that.
Right.
No.
We understand they didn't have money to like Men's Warehouse or whatever you get bridesmaids,
And-
like David's Bridal and shit
And
like
the
that.
biggest thing that helped her is everybody she had on her side lived in the same town.
Mhm.
Everybody he invited lives here. We are all 2 hours away.
Right.
Everybody she picked is local.
Yep.
So they could meet up. They could do what they need to. He never bothered to have us come up. Like we knew in a year in advance that this wedding was going to take place. He never asked to try to get us all to team up together to go meet up there.
Right.
He never tried to come down here. Nothing.
And we didn't hear anything from him until like
After we started calling him a month before the
yeah,
wedding.
because he texted me. He's like, "Hey, you still want to do it?" And I was like, "Because I never told him yes or no."
Neither did I.
And it
we
was
initially-
like,
we literally told him we need to know when and what time and what day it is, so we can see if we can even get off.
Right.
and of course, I mean, obviously that's in the last episode that we mentioned that too. But like you and I were just talking about, and most, I'm pretty sure even rehearsals you've been in, Steven, when there's music, you rehearse to the music.
Yeah.
Right. So like,
Built to the beat of
if
the
you
song.
know there's going to be the wedding march, someone's there playing the wedding march, one, so they can practice along with it.
Right.
And two, so you can get the flow down. If there's pre-recorded music that's being played or through the PA, you do that. This wedding, there was
It was
pre-recorded
all
music.
they took one CD, threw it in there.
And guess
Never
how many
heard-
times we listened to it during the rehearsal? Just take a wild
Yeah.
guess from everything we've told you.
Based on what I've heard so far,
Mm-hmm.
I'd want to say none.
Yeah, no,
You got it. Yeah, we never heard it.
we never heard. We didn't even know there was music.
We knew there was music because there was a guy standing behind the booth.
Yeah, but
talking
that's-
to somebody
that's after-
else.
yeah, we
they
talked to
third
them.
partied that entire section of the rehearsal.
It was someone's brother's friend or something like that.
Yeah, and even then, the entire wedding, he was sitting in the chair at the sound booth with his feet propped up on it. Literally, he pushed play. We didn't hear what the song was
Until
the day of.
So the actual plan is we were all going to walk down. We're going to wait for a certain amount of time when the music was going to
Yeah.
play.
So we were going to, and at this time, we're still all walking down the audience's right side.
And
to go up.
two,
Which is also confusing because when you come down the right side, you have to walk since we were still crisscross, like me and him would have to walk the women to go straight up on the stage and they'd sit where they need to sit, but we'd have to cut across the front of the row of pews and then line up. So
Yeah.
we'd have to come up and then up at that angle.
it was only one song. And the original plan, we found out later, was we were supposed to walk down a little bit after the song started. And then at I think the last so many seconds of it, she was supposed to walk down.
Yeah, like there was somebody designated to be like, all right, you keep track of it, and when it hits this certain section of the song, then they know.
And I will
when it
bring
hits
this
section.
up about the actual wedding part. It's because of that, with none of us knowing, we were standing up there for a weirdly long amount of time before she finally came down.
Yes. But we'll get more into
Yeah.
detail on that. This is when we do the walkthrough. We still all come down the right side of the audience. We go up. Normally, as you know, the pastor will be like, all right, well, I'm going to say this. And he won't say everything. Sometimes they do. I've had it once or twice where they'll kind of do a quick little run through of all the words.
Right.
But he's like, all right, well, I'm going to say, and he'll say like the first two words and just go yada, 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 yada. And then you go, okay, and then this is when you're going to say this. And this is when, he's going to say this. And then this is when y'all are going to say, I do, and then he starts talking about, okay, then I'm going to say, you may not kiss the bride. Don't give her a big, long, wet one. Don't give her any tongue, just a quick little kiss, turn to the audience.
And also told him about the ring.
Yeah. And told him about the ring.
Right.
And that was consisted of, if you can't get it past the second knuckle, leave it and just close your hand up on it so it won't fall off. And that's literally this is how everything on stage is going to take place. Then me and him, who are sitting on the sidelines going, this is not right. We need to swap. We're whispering to each other. We're having this conversation. Finally, he goes, shouldn't we be on his side? And the pastor's like, oh, yeah. Do we do another walkthrough? No.
I was like, yeah, can we walk through one more time? He's like, no, we don't need to. And then the decision, it was pretty much everything was over. We're all standing in the back and we're all talking like, since there's 2 aisles, should we all both walk down one aisle or should we split?
Right.
And where groomsmen are walking down one, bridesmaids are walking down the other. Right. And we agreed.
Which helped because all 3 of us, me, Jonathan, and I can't remember his name now, but the 3 of us are all former military, and one of her matron of honor, I believe
I think it was the matron of honor, yeah.
Is also former military. So we're like, no, we need to do the guys on this side, women on this side for the symmetry of the entire thing. It would look better.
Yeah, and like, okay. And we asked, can we do a walkthrough of this? All the way, at least up to where we get on the stage. No.
We literally take like 10 seconds to be like, all right, this is how we're going to do it. And we kind of did a quick little few steps to see about how far apart and then we thought was a good gap.
That led it. And I looked at the matron of honor. I was like, you wanted to go ahead and do this? Yeah. So she gathered up the bridesmaids and said, hey, we're going to do it. And then him and then we talked to the other guy, like, yeah, let's go ahead and just walk through ourselves. And even then,
we only walked halfway down the aisle. We did it just enough to be like, okay, well, when they get to this pew,
right,
then the next one goes.
Yeah.
And then we went up
which was thrown out of the window in the wedding. So, and the only other thing we rehearsed, but we didn't ever do it twice, was walking down together. So it was supposed to be after we switched sides, right?
No, she was supposed to come up the left side because Jim would already obviously be up on the audience's right side. She's supposed to come up the left side, be given away, do the ceremony, and then come back up the other side. So eventually we just decided for her, no, you will come up this side. It was supposed
to be basically a NASCAR thing. So she would come up the left side from audience, go down the left side from stage.
Instead of making a bunch of left turns, she was going to make a bunch of right turns.
Pretty much.
Literally all she had to do.
Yeah.
So she's going to do one lap around the center of the church.
Side. So we got that. We thought that was cool. We should have actually rehearsed that a couple times because of the wedding that also flew out the window. And when it came to walking down, we only did walk through that one more time. I even asked the bridesmaids, do you guys want to do even ourselves walk down one more time? No, they didn't want to.
The walk down was we were going to pair up and we were going to go down the opposite side. So we'd come down the audience's left side coming back. So the bride would go down one side and then we'd come up the other side.
Mm-hmm. And then that also got changed during the wedding. No, you're just going to follow her. Okay. But we were supposed to be paired up, arm in arm, step down, step down, step down. And the thing that was, I believe, the first time, and then we changed it ourselves. We changed it. It was supposed to be, I was going to link up with the maid of honor, walk down with her. And then they wanted you and the other one to take a step up, come together, walk down. And then those ones that were already on the floor come all the way up and then go down.
Yeah, but we decided that we would meet on the step we were on, go down, and go. It's not that tall.
Because it was me. It was
because
stage
you,
top, me, skip a step, you,
me, skip a step, he was on the floor. That's the rehearsal.
And I mean, even that was just like, and you hear that. So honestly, since we told you this, I'm going to ask you, what do you, like, if you were there?
The flower girls never did a thorough walkthrough, and the ring bearer was only told what he was going to do. They never showed him how it was going to be done.
The pillow, nothing.
They explained there's going to be a ribbon. There's going to be pins holding the ribbons down to hold the rings on the pillow. That's all they told him. You're just going to hold this pillow and hand it and hold it up to me, and I'm going to take the rings off of it. In fact, while we were doing the rehearsal and we were on the stage, I was watching him in a hallway flossing. He's 8? He's literally in a hallway flossing in this church during the rehearsals. He's not even associated. He's not even in the same room.
Never did a walkthrough at all.
That's crazy.
They had him sit on the front row one time and said, this is what you're going to do.
And this is where you're going to sit when you're done. You're going to do your job and you're going to sit there.
Right. So hearing that, okay, and knowing what you know about weddings that you've been involved in, if you were there during that, give me your take of what you think about what we told you leading up to it, and what you think about the rehearsal itself.
And then also, typically, at least with weddings I've been in, I'm sure they're the same. After the rehearsal, everybody associated with the rehearsal has a meal after.
Yeah.
Think what you expect that to be. How you expect that to happen.
And then we'll talk about that. So what do you think, like your impressions of this as best to what you can imagine?
And what we spent, 30 minutes altogether on the rehearsal?
Yeah. So what do you think?
My impressions, just based off of what I've heard from the rehearsal itself, I can narrow it down to 3 words of what the fuck.
He nailed it.
Yeah, exactly.
He nailed it. Yeah.
So walk us through what you think. You know, like if you were there and you obviously heard about the whole swapping of everything, right? The yes, the whole circle of weirdness and only walking through it one time, even partially half-assed at that.
Right.
And with no music, nothing else, don't know hardly anything. What do you think if you were there? What would be going through your mind besides what the
Why
fuck?
the fuck are we even having a wedding?
He did follow what I said.
Yes.
Besides what the fuck, he just said, "Why the fuck are we having a wedding?"
Why?
And
what's
really,
the
that's
point?
pretty much what I think we were all thinking. Anyway,
Yeah,
we never
this is
said
fucking
it.
Stupid.
I mean, I would say that these two are the prime candidates of procrastination. But even then, they couldn't even decide. I mean, what wedding does anybody go to where bride and groom doesn't even know?
Like the
Right,
day
exactly.
before.
Right. Like, and I understand not having money for a wedding planner.
But at the very
But-
least, they could have gone to a local bookstore and spent $5 on a small little pocket-sized wedding guide book to say, this is who's doing this is who's doing that, to give them an outline and have everything planned out.
Well, like, even then, like you see some girls on Facebook, Instagram, whatever. They're like, "Oh my god, he proposed," and then like one of their friends is like, "I am totally gonna plan this wedding for you." Right?
Yeah.
It's usually how it works.
Yeah.
And obviously, at least the bride's the matron of honor was already married.
Yeah.
So she's been through a wedding.
Yeah.
So you think at least she would have been able to help plan that shit.
However, we do feel that if Jim's mother was still alive, because unfortunately she had passed before the wedding, we think that she would have taken more control.
And it would have been better.
Yeah.
But my deal is, what normal person doesn't even know how a basic, simple wedding is run? Like, you'd have to be raised in an enclosed room, sheltered life, to not even know how a wedding is performed. You can see that in movies, YouTube videos. I mean,
And
I'll know a general concept.
And Jim does spend a lot of time on his phone on YouTube and stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll say this: like Jim has suffered from some seizures, which is affected learning abilities.
But he's still doing pretty good.
Yeah, he's doing really good
for the handicap.
And I mean, at the same time, though, you think someone knowing that, someone who doesn't have that learning disability or cognitive disability, would have been like, "Hey, dude, like, let's do this."
And he didn't even call us to ask for help.
We would have helped him
If he would have asked, we
did everything in our power to help him in the waiting seconds before.
I mean, you and me pretty much planned half of the wedding itself that ended up thrown out the window anyways.
Yeah. Would you, if you had a choice, whether or not, like, if we had a choice, we wouldn't have done it. We would have been like, hey, if we're going to do this.
We got kind of tossed into it anyways.
Yeah, if we're going to do this, let's back off and let's postpone it and let's really plan this shit. So if that was you, would if you had a choice of seeing this shit back out or stay in for the ride, what would you have chosen based off of what you've heard?
Based off what I've heard so far, if I was given the choice to ride it or leave, I would probably leave.
Now for how after wedding rehearsal meals are concerned, obviously for your sister's wedding, we went, out to eat for it, right?
Yeah.
And even I've had that happen.
Right.
With family weddings as
or
well.
If they do,
they tend to cater it.
Either catered or someone does cook, but it's actually good. But what do you expect for a post rehearsal meal? Like what is usually the standard that you like, bare minimum standard that you would expect with a post rehearsal meal?
I've gone to some where it's just been finger foods, sandwiches, simple stuff, and then I've gone to some where it's an actual catered meal. Or even some where they say, hey, we're all meeting up at this restaurant afterwards. And I have been to a rehearsal where they didn't have anything afterwards. But I mean, they let everybody know ahead of time, like, hey, we're just going to do this rehearsal right here. We all might hang out a little bit afterwards, but there's no really meal because we're gonna have the meal after the wedding, and we're like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I've known people just say that they weren't doing the meal after that so they could save the money to get a better catering company
Right, yeah.
or restaurant.
Well, even then though, it's still nice.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? But even with the finger foods, because I've been,
I've been to
'cause
one
what-
with finger foods too.
yeah, because didn't your sister also have a finger foods type of thing too, or did we just go straight to the restaurant?
Oh, we went straight to the restaurant.
Okay.
Needless to say,
we had brisket.
the groom's father smoked and cooked a bunch of barbecue. We had chicken and turkey and brisket.
And I will honestly say this: the reason I asked you what you expect is not because this. And if I did say it, I didn't mean it. I was thinking of something else. But it's not because this post wedding rehearsal meal was bad. It was not.
It actually was not bad.
Yeah,
No,
it was
but
actually really good.
we didn't eat a whole lot though because we just got into Cracker Barrel like right before the rehearsal. So
No, we went to Cracker Barrel when we left.
no, we went to Texas Roadhouse.
No, it was Texas Roadhouse before the rehearsal.
Either way, we went to one of the two. They're both good.
We ate food.
Right.
We ate, but we ate right before we got there, and so we didn't eat a lot, but we did eat a little bit just to be nice.
Yeah, because we weren't expecting it to be good.
So now, was either of those restaurants y'all's own choice?
Yeah,
That was all of
us.
us.
Yeah,
That was all on us. Yeah,
yeah, because we were just chilling.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was actually decent.
yeah. I mean,
And
and they
we're
had
like-
way more than enough food for
Yeah,
everybody.
we're like, holy shit, if this is it, because that was way better than the rehearsal.
Right.
And as when we talk about the actual
hell,
wedding,
that meal itself was longer than the rehearsal.
yeah, when we talk about the actual wedding, even the post wedding ceremony, the rehearsal meal was way better than even that,
yeah.
which was sad.
But that'll be a whole nother episode in and of itself. Because the wedding has a lot that went wrong with it specifically. But
Leading up to it, during it, after it, and to this fallout of it, everything that goes wrong in our lives, blame Jim.
Yep, we do. 100%.
Mm-hmm. Anything that happens, if I were to, like
Break your leg walking out of this room.
yeah,
Jim's
Jim.
fault.
If I for some reason became a maniac and murdered someone, I'd blame Jim.
If you ate that rotten apple.
I'd blame Jim.
Yep. Yeah, that's just the day before the wedding.
Yep. So what real quick before because we're going to close here, and I want to close with your final thoughts. How do you think the wedding itself is going to go?
So my opinion of how the wedding will go based off of how shitty the rehearsal was.
Mm-hmm.
The wedding sounds like it must have been a clusterfuck. If it's anything better than that, I will be amazed at a miracle. But I am right now at the moment doubting it.
Yeah, I honestly do not blame you for that because
Because if I was told this story and didn't actually physically experience, I would think somebody was fucking with me and made up the whole thing.
Right. Well, right
And-
now I'm thinking of why were these people even having a wedding to begin with?
I still question that now.
Mhm.
And they've been married.
Almost a year.
Yeah, they're pushing a year, a couple more months, and they'll be a year together.
Yep.
And I haven't heard a thing from him since the wedding.
Yeah, because they probably all do their separate things.
But yeah, so, all right. Well, I think that's definitely what we'll call it for this episode. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
I'm Steven,
I'm Jonathan.
I'm Josh.
and we will catch everybody next time.